Welcome to the Success Library. If you're aiming to get, quick, deep knowledge from those foundational texts, skip the fluff, go straight to the core ideas, then yeah, you're definitely in the right place. Today we're doing a deep dive into the absolute starting point of achievement. It's the principle that came out of Andrew Carnegie's famous money-making secret. A secret that, well, it was studied, tested for like 25 years.
That's right. And we're not just talking about surface level stuff here. We're going right into the psychological engine room, you could say. The author is really clear. The first step toward riches, it isn't just hard work or education or even luck. It's desire. But, and this is critical, we need to understand what kind of desire we're talking about. It's definitely not just a hope or, some vague wish.
Okay, so what's the real difference then between that kind of desire and just wanting something? Because, let's be honest, most people want to be rich. But very few actually end up with huge amounts of money.
It's huge. It's the difference between, say, a passive thought floating around in your head and an emotionalized, focused command. The text is super strict on this point. Riches, especially the big fortunes, they're almost never just about hard work. Not on its own. They respond to a really definite demand, and that demand has to be based on definite principles. So the state you need is this intense, burning desire for something specific, something definite, because it's this profound sense of purpose, almost like a dominating obsession.
Right, that sounds pretty abstract. But the book immediately gives us some really solid proof, concrete evidence that this isn't just theory. Starting with Edwin C. Barnes. He's the guy they hold up as proof that people really do think and grow rich.
Oh yeah, Barnes is the perfect case study here. It's like mental alchemy. So picture this. He hops off a freight train in Orange, New Jersey. And by all accounts, he looked like he didn't have a penny, a tramp, basically. But, and this is what the book points out, inside his head, his thoughts were like those of a king. His goal wasn't just get a job. No. His definite major purpose was crystal clear: become the business associate of the great Thomas Edison.
And his appearance, that was definitely working against him, wasn't it? We know Edison himself said later that Barnes looked like he could barely afford his clothes. So given that, why on earth would Edison give this guy, this stranger, any kind of chance at all?
Well, Edison was known for being a pretty sharp judge of character. So yeah, the outside looked rough, but Edison apparently recognized this unshakable determination that was just shining through. He explained it later. He said Barnes had such an intense desire, he was willing to basically stake his entire future on making it happen, and Edison knew that kind of all-in determination, or it's practically a guarantee of success. So he gave Barnes a shot. Even if it was just, menial work at first, he saw a mind that had absolutely made up its mind.
What's really fascinating, though, is the test that came next. It wasn't instant success. Barnes didn't get that partnership right away. He spent months, maybe longer, doing the least important jobs around the place, barely earning anything. Now, if the average person walks in with that burning desire and then gets stuck doing grunt work, wouldn't they just think, what's the use, and walk away?
Oh, absolutely. That's what most people do, right? The first roadblock feels like a dead end. But Barnes, he wasn't average. He was doing the opposite. He was constantly intensifying his desire. His internal talk wasn't, maybe I should find a better sales job. It was, I came here to go into business with Edison, and I will do this, even if it takes the rest of my life.
That singular focus,
Yeah.
That persistence, just fueled by that burning desire. That's what the book says, mowed down all opposition, led him straight to the partnership eventually.
Okay, so that ties in perfectly with the next big lesson here, this habit of persistence. It's always being tested, isn't it?
Yeah.
Usually by what looks like defeat, temporary defeat. And that's the moment, right, where a really strong desire shows what it's made of.
Exactly. Temporary defeat.
Yeah.
The book calls it failure's trickster. It's sneaky. And probably the most common reason people fail. It's simply quitting when things get tough, just stopping. And there's really no story that hits this home harder, maybe more painfully, than the one about R.U. Darby's uncle and the gold mine. Oh, that one. Yeah. They got caught up in the gold rush fever, found some really rich ore, bought all the machinery, drills, everything, and then poof, the vein just vanished. They kept drilling, kept searching, nothing. So finally, they just decided to quit, sold off all that expensive gear to a junk man for like pennies on the dollar. Such bad timing.
Well, it's more than just timing, isn't it? It's a huge, a massive psychological miss, because the junk man, who maybe wasn't quite so quick to quit, he did something smart. He hired a mining engineer. The engineer does his calculations, looks things over, and tells the new owner that the gold vein they lost, it would likely be found just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped drilling. 3 feet. And the so-called junk man, he apparently took millions out of that mine.
Just 3 feet away. Wow. That moment of feeling completely hopeless right before the big breakthrough. It seems like that's exactly when failure loves to trip people up. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many millions of people, maybe every single day, just quit 3 feet from their own gold mine?
It must be countless people. The lesson is just, it's brutally simple, really. Defeat isn't permanent, not unless you accept it as permanent. And Darby himself, he learned this lesson so deeply, he eventually made back his losses, apparently. But not by going back to mining. He took that intense desire, that persistence he learned about the hard way, and poured it into the life insurance business. He realized the power wasn't in the ground. It was in his mind.
Right. And to show just how powerful, how irresistible this focused desire can become, the book tells another story about Darby. This one's kind of unusual, almost funny, involving his notoriously fierce uncle again.
Yeah, this uncle was known for having a really bad temper, apparently quite intimidating physically. Yet this little girl comes up to him demanding 50 cents for her mother. The uncle yells at her, threatens her. The story says he even picked up a barrel stave, trying to scare her off. Told her to just go home.
But she didn't budge, despite the yelling, the threats.
Absolutely unmoved. Because her need, her desire for that 50 cents was stronger than any fear she might have felt. She just stood her ground and screamed, apparently at the top of her lungs, "Mom, Mammy's gotta have that 50 cents. And what happened? The uncle just gave in instantly, handed over the money, and later apparently reflected on, quote, the whipping he had just taken.
That's incredible. So what was it? What was her power there? Was it just being stubborn or something deeper?
It was pure, unwavering desire, backed by a very specific purpose. It was a need so strong that the possibility of failing just didn't even register for her. And we see that same kind of unstoppable, focused force in probably the author's most personal story in the whole book, his own son, who was born without the ability to hear.
Right. Instead of just accepting deaf mutism as fate, the author tackled it with the same kind of definite plan and faith that he says is needed for getting rich.
Exactly. He worked to plant a burning desire in his son's mind, a desire to hear and speak. And he mixed that desire with absolute faith that it would happen. He taught the boy using bone conduction, apparently, and really structured the child's whole world to frame this perceived challenge as somehow an asset.
And the result was pretty amazing.
It really was. That dominating obsession, that desire, eventually led his son to become this internationally known expert on hearing aids. A bridge builder, the author calls him, spanning that gap of silence. He turned what could have been a crippling disadvantage into a huge asset. And the author uses this as the ultimate proof. Nothing is impossible for someone who backs their desire with unwavering, enduring faith.
Okay, so that link between desire, faith, and definite action. It brings us to the final piece of this first principle, right? The role of definite decision. And the story for that is Dr. Frank W. Gonzalez. He had this dream of starting a new kind of college based on learning by doing.
Right. Gonzalez had this idea for $1 million college, and he had it for 2 years. But for those 2 years, it was just a wish. He only thought about it, kind of vaguely. The big shift happened when he finally reached a definite decision. He decided he would get the money and get it within 1 week. And crucially, he made a definite plan. His plan was to preach a powerful sermon titled, "What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million."
And the psychological shift, the change in him the moment he made that firm decision, that seems like the most telling part of the whole story.
Oh, absolutely. He described it himself. He said, "A strange feeling of assurance came over me." That's it right there. That's the shift from just hoping to knowing, to certainty. So he preached that sermon apparently completely from memory, just radiating this newfound confidence. And who happened to be in the audience? Philip D. Armour, the famous industrialist. Armour walks right up to him afterwards and basically says, "I like your sermon, Reverend. I believe you could do everything you said you would. Come see me tomorrow morning." And he pledged the $1 million.
So he got the money within 36 hours after he finally reached that definite decision in his own mind to get it. Going from 2 years of wishing to 36 hours of decisive success. That's just phenomenal.
It really proves the point, doesn't it, that ideas, these intangible things, they can be transformed into cold, hard cash.
Yeah.
Through the power of a definite purpose combined with definite plans. The vague wish just sits there, it's static.
Yeah.
But that intense, definite, burning desire, that's dynamic. It's like a magnetic force. So if you put all the pieces together, Barnes's inner conviction, Darby's uncle, and that fatal hesitation, Gonzalez making that decisive move, the real takeaway from this first principle, it's that desire has to be dialed up. way up than the level of a dominating obsession.
Yeah.
You have to mentally create a situation where backing down just isn't even on the table.
And the author's own massive undertaking, spending 25 years putting this whole philosophy together, that's proof too, isn't it? That initial idea, the spark from Carnegie's Secret, he nursed it along, coaxed it. But eventually, because it was backed by his burning desire, it became this huge thing under its own power. It drove him.
Indeed it did. The mind truly have this incredible power. It can take these intangible impulses, these thoughts, and turn them into their physical reality. And you, the listener, you are the architect. You build your reality with the thoughts you choose to focus on.
So as you think about everything we've dug into today from the source material, you really have to decide, are you just kind of hoping for riches? Or are you actively forging a burning desire? Because the book makes it pretty clear. Both poverty and riches start as thoughts. They're offspring of thought, which means the decision, which one you're determined to create, which one you control. Well, that's fundamentally up to you.